2017. I'm here with Zeke, the founder of Serenity Forge. So, when did you actually start the company?
I started the company just a couple years ago. I was actually graduated from college. Decided to just keep on making video games as a full-time job with a bunch of my friends. So yeah.
Nice. What was the first game that you worked on?
The first game that I ever worked on is actually like a story-driven narrative visual novel game called Loving Life, which was a free game online, and it's about my near-fatal illness when I was 18 years old, and that's kind of the game that kicked off everything that we're doing now.
Nice. So, like, kind of staying with illness, you have Once Upon a Coma. So what kind of kick-started that one?
Yeah, so Once Upon a Coma, the creator-director behind the game, his name is Thomas Brush. He is also the creator of a game called Pinstripe. We're working together on Once Upon a Coma, mainly because it's just a really deep and emotional experience that all developers really share. I mean, one surprising stat that I recently heard is that around 50% of game developers suffer from some type of depression, anxiety, and have suicidal thoughts. And the game is very much inspired by something like that. The game is a narrative that features a boy who attempted to commit suicide, but didn't go all the way through, and he put himself inside a coma. And throughout the game, you're just trying to, as a player, you're trying to piece together the thoughts that he has while he's going through the coma, and eventually he understands what's going on. He realizes that he needs to get out of it.
Yeah, I saw when he started the game, he's not quite sure what's going on, and everyone's like, oh, hey, you've been in this coma this time, and it's like your sister's kind of gone missing because all the adults have gone missing.
Yeah.
And then some of the kids are really excited about that.
Right, and that's actually the twist. It's actually the beginning of the game is when you got into the coma, and the entire game is inside the coma, and it's almost like a Dali painting, kind of like a Tim Burton kind of feel to everything.
Yeah, it has kind of like, sort of like dark undertones. Like, it does have a lot of color to it, but it definitely has that feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to create an atmosphere that's able to provide players a narrative that they could relate with if they suffer from certain types of depression and anxiety, and possibly help them seek out more information on how they can control that.
Yeah, and you meet up with like people that he knows kind of like outside the coma, and they're communicating stuff back and forth. I think one of the first quests that you kind of do in the game is getting insulin for someone who clearly has no love for you.
Right.
And then you can kind of go and fight spiders. And what other types of like creatures and quests are kind of like woven into the game?
Well, the game is going to be more and more surreal as time goes on, and a lot of the characters that you see, like Fatty, who's stuck in a well, these are actually allegories, reflections of how Pete, the main character, operates inside his head. You'll soon find out that Pete is, homophobic in some ways, confused about gender in a lot of ways, and definitely fatphobic in a lot of ways. But throughout the coma, you kind of realize that he also changes his mindset as you keep on progressing.
Yeah, I think really early on in the game, you meet up with a boy who's got like really long hair, and he's like, I think I'm going to be a girl this school season.
Right. John is the character's name. It's actually John identifies as a girl.
Yeah.
But like these are things that the player can kind of draw their own connections with their real life with, depending on how you want to see it.
Yeah, there aren't too many games that really kind of deal with a lot of social issues like that. I think they kind of skirt around it, but very few of them, I think, kind of avoid kind of diving deep into it.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of games like that would either like really avoid it because they want to be inclusive for their audience and have everybody play the game and enjoy it, or they're just trying to pander to a very niche audience. And I think this game it does neither. And really, what it does is it looks at one particular person's psyche and displays it in a very dreamlike world.
So, Once Upon a Coma, what kind of release window are we looking at, and what platforms is it launching on?
Yeah, so we're not completely confirmed on platforms yet. It'll definitely be on Steam, but we also, are looking at the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, and Xbox One, and we're looking to release the game maybe mid next year.
All right, and the one that we have running in the background right now is the Kings Bird. It's kind of, I'm going to say, it's almost like a Metroidvania style game with a lot of like flight mechanic. So it has that kind of progressing through like sort of like tubes and areas where you're jumping up, and there's a lot of freedom in not only how you're moving, but locations of where you're moving, because there's a lot of like verticality to it.
Right. The King's Bird is it's very much inspired by games like Dust Force and Journey, where there are a lot of these casual gamers nowadays, casual, in quotations, feel like they're not good enough to play games like Dust Force or Super Meat Boy. We wanted to change that mindset. As a really lover, I guess, of precision platformer games, I know how it feels when you perfect a level and just feel so good. Like, oh wow, I'm just getting so much better. It's like learning the piano or something like that. It's something that a lot of people who typically play casual games don't really get that sense of self-satisfaction, that intrinsic value. So the reason why we made the King's Bird is to try to encourage that kind of mindset, so that people are looking at the art, looking at the story, and they're like, oh, maybe I can try out this game. It doesn't look too difficult. And then, a couple levels later, they're like, oh, maybe I can do a little bit better. Maybe I can improve my score by a few more seconds. And that's kind of why we did this.
Yeah, it was like one of the probably one of the only critiques I had of even like Ori and the Blind Forest. Beautiful looking game, really nice. It looks very inviting, but it's got a difficulty spike that is brutal.
Yeah.
And I mean, the game's great. So the last thing we saw here in the demo was, what's the character's name, first of all?
The character in the game is called Quill. She's a girl who finds this power that enables her flight. Yeah.
So we saw Quill kind of approach some type of entity in the forest, and basically both characters started glowing. What is that?
We wanted to hint a little bit more at the story. So the general gist of the story, I'm not going to give it away too much right now, because the truth is we're still kind of working on it. So the gist of the story is that Quill is trapped in a kingdom ruled by a tyrant king that has a literal cage around its citizens. And Quill eventually, just wants to get out of this kingdom. She doesn't want to be there. So eventually she breaks down the barrier to actually get out of the kingdom, finds that freedom, to realize that actually everyone outside the world has already died. And it's very confused by what's going on there. She still wanted to bring that freedom back to all of her friends back in the kingdom. So she went ahead and destroys that barrier to let everyone escape. And that's what she realizes, that there's a reason why the king was a tyrant to begin with. So it's definitely a story of the duality of freedom and chaos, order and tyranny.
Nice. So the character essentially can glide, and as you were kind of showing me before, is if you kind of stick to like surfaces, your glide kind of like resets, and it kind of gives you almost infinite flight. How intense does a lot of that kind of like maneuvering get? Because there's some spots where like you're literally like going up and then down and then up, jump, then up and then cloud. How intense does that kind of get later on?
I mean, it gets pretty intense, but we're hoping that it's also intuitive. Yeah. It's almost like playing the piano again. It's like you just know it intuitively what you're supposed to do at every single situation. For us, it was really quick to learn for a lot of new players. Half an hour into the game, you're pretty much going to master the mechanics, and then it just comes down to precision. I think we really wanted to do something like that, especially the canceling your flight when you're midair. Because in the game, as you can see, there's no double jump. And every single precision platformer pretty much relies on the double jump and the jump cancel when you're inside the air.
I was waiting for that prompt to go, like when you have the A on the cliff, and I'm like waiting for one to kind of appear in the air, but it doesn't come. Yeah,
we're never planning on adding a double jump, actually. We want the flight to take over and really add that feel of flow and momentum into the game.
And you have like a sort of like a gliding, like a scaling style like glide that allows you to kind of go up the areas. Like here you'll need to use it and then bounce.
Right.
And then you have the thorns to kind of watch out. What other type of environmental hazards are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, environmental hazards are going to be everywhere. Essentially, when it comes down to it, it's just the art style, right? And what it looks like. There are certain levels where there's giant ponds of water. So there's a water kingdom that's sunken. So you got to avoid the waterfalls. There's going to be a kingdom in the game where it's all floating islands in the sky with windmills everywhere. So obviously falling is a huge hazard there. You can fall to your death for a long fall there. But yeah, I mean, there's all various types.
And the game uses a lot of colors like to come almost like set moods, because you have like the green here, it's kind of very like friendly, kind of inviting music, and then once the screen goes red, it kind of like lowers the volume a little bit more darker.
Right. We wanted to use a color ramp system, easing in everything when there's a color change or something like that. That way, it's the flow. I think the word flow is the one word that would define this entire game. Even when you die, you don't get punished. You don't feel like you're really punished. You just kind of get put back to where you were a second ago, and you get to try it again. And that's kind of we want that feeling to continue throughout the experience.
There's a lot of really nice background elements that kind of shift and move depending on your kind of like height in the level and as you're moving. How did all that kind of like come to be?
Right. We wanted to take a really unique artistic approach, making it so that there's a really strong sense of depth by using parallax, 2D parallax, but not to the point where it affects the gameplay too much. So we didn't want it to be too confusing. So we make really high contrast layers so you can see exactly where you're supposed to stand and what is actually in the background.
So like kind of adapting to that casual nature of like players kind of who may not necessarily have the skill level for something like Ori and the Blind Forest. What kind of length are we looking at for the game?
Yeah, we're looking at at least 3 hours if you're really good at the game, maybe 4 to 5 depending on how you want to play it. If you go through the story, that's probably what you're looking at. If you're looking at trying to speed run and get top world records, I mean, that's going to be a completely different story.
Oh yeah, they'll find some glitch in the first level and appear in the last one.
That'll be hundreds of hours, if not more.
What kind of release dates and platforms are you announcing for this?
We're actually also looking at around early, mid next year, probably more sliding mid right now. And the platform we also confirmed definitely for the PC. We're still looking at consoles, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One.
It almost has, in some ways as well, kind of the appeal to almost have a mobile type of like port, because a lot of the contextual stuff that you're doing is like hitting a button and holding it.
Right.
So you could almost kind of have that nature of that feeling like a mobile game as well.
Right, yeah, we actually had that comment quite a bit in the past, and it's something that we're considering on approaching. We're just a little bit afraid to do it too early, because we want to really hone down the actual game for the core audience of speedrunners first. Yeah.
Well, both games look absolutely great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.